Good evening. Welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. We start at 6 o'clock with a non-public with a resident. Brings us to 6:40 and Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. Don't all jump at once.
Good evening, Connie St. Clair. I live on Daniels Road. I have a question for all of you. So I live on Daniels Road, and across the street, I'm assuming, is the town's property.
Okay.
I'm assuming. So I am asking if I'm able to cut some of the brush on that side of the road, because in the winter, the brush
All falls
obviously
over.
goes in the road. We can't get by. So I don't know if I can get permission to cut some of that. Why I'm asking is I want it in writing.
Okay.
So just in case someone
Understandable.
says something, I have it in writing.
Can you send us pictures of the area
I
you're
can do
talking
a
about?
video. I mean,
That's
probably a
fine.
video. is probably a
Something,
little
something
easy.
we can see it
Okay.
in living color.
Yeah, and if possible, maybe 10 feet, probably not more than that.
Yeah.
Just so at least, because I know some of the limbs are 30, 40 feet long,
Yeah.
so,
They get snow loaded and then.
yeah. And it's just a pain
Okay.
in the winter, so.
You can send pictures or video, right?
Yeah, pictures of video.
Okay.
Yeah, send it to board members at ware.nh.gov.
Okay.
And we should get it at that point.
Beautiful, thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Chris Haig. I'll try to be brief because I know you want a brief meeting. Two thank yous. I'm part of the senior size class that meets in the town hall, and we have watched week by week the restoration of the exterior. And it looks really fine, and I just wanted it to be on record because it's a source of pride for our town. And for all of you who have helped in that, thank you. The other one is the roads. And I'm very grateful for what has been done. I know that the bond will come due in our next tax bill, and I'm saving pieces of my pension every month so that we can pay for it. It's a great investment. I think it enhances our town. I think it keeps up our property values. Benji and the highway crew have done a fantastic job. And I feel a lot more tranquil driving along than I did when I was bumped all over the place. So that's my appreciation. I also have something to file under impassioned plea. And this goes for the interior of the town hall. Now, I know you don't have a custodian per se, but many people use that hall, and it really represents us. And I also consider it somewhat of a sanitation issue. The floor has not been washed forever. There were anthills being formed in the cracks on the floorboards. The splats on the floor have been there forever because I use them as balance points when we do our exercises. And we need to do something because it's stewardship. And when I worked for the town, I considered stewardship an important part of my job. I was entrusted with public property, and it's an investment. So what I'm hoping can happen is two things. One, just a major cleanup to get it up to speed, and then have someone look in on it so that we don't run out of toilet paper. That's tough, but that has happened. And check the doors. We came in one day last winter, and the back door was wide open, and it was 10 degrees out. So I call that just maintenance. But I think it would, like all the other things that you have done that make us all feel proud of Weare, I think that would be good. And thank you in advance for that.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Good evening, Richard Butt. Town Hall looks great. Every time I go by there, I think I see something a little different, though. I thought originally when I went by, there were railings on the real top section of the, above the bell tower, but it looks great. It looks as close to what I would consider original as possible. I'm a little concerned about the gazebo and comments that were made by one of the selectmen regarding the structural integrity of that. And I don't know if we've accepted the building yet as a gift from the, I guess, from the Historical Society. But hopefully these issues could be resolved before we decide to accept that building, given that there may be some issues there. Appreciate the comments that were made by selectmen regarding that. In regards to that, and also including the barn building, the brown barn building, that was part of a Mildred Hall committee suggestion that we purchase that land. And the buildings were incidental to the real purpose, which was providing space for more cemeteries. Lots. And it was about 7 years ago, when we were told at the time that within 5 to 10 years we'd be running out of places to bury people in town. I don't think anything's been done over there. But that in the gazebo, I don't like to see money being used for the barn, town money, tax dollars. In my mind, we should go back to the Mildred Hall Committee and ask for them to put some money into an escrow account, maybe to maintain some of these things that they've given to the town, especially the brown barn. I don't think it's an appropriate use of taxpayers' dollars for that barn. And there's one other thing, the road reconstruction. I would hope that you could get maybe the Department of Public Works Director in to give us an update. Just a couple of observations is that apparently we're using chip coating as a means to maybe save some of the roads. That hadn't been discussed at the deliberative session. It wasn't part.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, there was a
chip
whole
coating was?
Chip
section.
coating was,
There
yeah.
a-
It wasn't part of
Sealing,
their-
chip
It could have been
seal.
chip seal instead of chip
Yeah,
coating.
chip
It's-
seal,
call it chip
yeah.
seal.
It wasn't part of the CIP presentation, and part of the documentation to support that. The only thing that was discussed there was overlay.
Shim and overlay.
Shim and overlay. And I believe chip seal was mentioned in that too, but
It wasn't mentioned in the, as far as, I didn't see it in the CIP report.
Okay.
There's a list, which is great, on the town website that shows the roads that are planned for maintaining or upgrading those roads through 2020. I noticed two of the roads, Quaker Street and East Road, had chip sealing done to them. And those roads were not classified to be done, and are not on the list. So that's I'm not saying anything was wrong with it, but I'd like to have a presentation about chip sealing, how long it's going to last. I've heard every 5 years it's got to be done over again. I don't know how true that is. Go on the website, go and look it up on the web, and you get different answers. But it was one thing. So I'm a little concerned that if that money's coming out of the block grant, not the block grant, but out of the bond.
No,
No.
it's not out of the bond.
No,
out
no.
of the road reconstruction.
That's his regular
Right, maintenance.
maintenance for the year.
Okay, so the money, the roads that are planned for shim and overlay, that money's coming out of what? Out of the highway block grant?
No, I wouldn't be so quick to say that it's not coming out of the bond.
The chip seal, I don't think came out of the.
I
I
mean,
thought
it's
that
road,
came
it's
out
still
of the-
road
right.
preservation, so
Right,
I
it's
wouldn't be
road
so quick to say it's not.
We have the money, I'm
I
assuming.
did ask him about the Quaker Street, because I saw that they'd done a couple of spots of shim and overlay where the D-lam was, and I says, and I myself, as a resident, didn't like the way they just cleaned the box out, and it was very rough, and then I was told they were gonna chip coat it. I didn't know it was on the list either, because I looked at the list initially right out of the gate, and I says, oh, I voted for this, and I didn't even we're not even gonna benefit from it,
I'm not being overcritical, I
Right,
just would like
but-
information.
But that's why I asked him. I said, "So what's the plan now?" He said, "We're going to chip coat it." And I said, "Okay," but I think that was just the preliminary list that he had, and as time allowed, there was going to be more added to it.
That's a list that's on the town.
Right, as
2019 and 20.
as
I
the
understand.
funding got closer and closer, he was going to do more and more, or what he could, I
A
should say.
lot depended on the weather.
That was correct too. The weather paid, but
Right.
we chip coated Hodgson not too long ago, 2-3 years ago. Yeah,
Last year.
Last year.
last year,
Last
and
year it did.
that's held up really good.
And I believe at that time, he said that was probably a 10-year
10-year
fix.
fix.
10-year fix, I think.
10 years?
Yeah, 10-year fix.
That was right from all states.
All right, I understand that, without belaboring the point, but the chip sealing appears to be much less expensive than it would be to shim and overlay.
Yes.
So I'd just like to know what are the differences in
Benefits
terms
and-
of cost per whatever?
Yep.
And what are the plans for using that versus the shim and overlay?
Yep.
And whether or not that list that's currently on the town website is up to date and accurate. That's all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Naomi, are they using bond money?
So,
Frank Campana. Thanks for the opportunity. I was debating whether I should be put on the agenda or not, so I'll try it this way again, and I will try to be brief. I have with me a dictionary, and my comment is going to follow around the police chief's agreement, and for me, /contract. There was a public comment to you at your last meeting. Someone thought that, it is in fact a contract. So I'm the worst procrastinator. So what I did is I went to the dictionary and I looked up the word agreement. And let's see, my notes here, A and B. A properly executed and legally binding compact. B, the writing or document embodying this compact. Okay. So then I went to the word compact. Compact. It's pretty short here. Let's see. As good as I had it planned out. A compact is a contract, and I wish I could find this quick enough here, in relatively small space. Well, it said, it used the word compact, and it also used the word, after a punctuation of a colon, used the word contract. I apologize. I thought I had this laid out better than that. But it did say that. It says contract, and it's a covenant. So then I went to the word of contract. See if I got this here right. And I probably don't. A legally enforceable agreement between two or more parties. The writing or document containing such an agreement. 2, branch of law dealing with contracts. Okay? So I guess what my takeaway from this was whether it's an agreement, whether it's a covenant, and whether it's a compact, it all boils down to a contract by definition. Now, I don't know if it was a court case, if a lawyer could, argue, well, the definition, no matter what word you use, is a contract. I don't know if that, if the dictionary stands up in front of a judge. But certainly for me, it does. So, I do have one question, and I'll come back in 2 weeks and look for an answer. I would like to know who decided and why to eliminate the word contract and use the word agreement. I think I voiced that the last meeting, what I thought, which was by not having the word contract, you eliminate a public hearing. So, I'll come back in 2 weeks, and I don't want an answer, I really don't want an answer tonight, honestly. Okay? Because somebody's gonna say, well, you know, we want to know the question ahead of time, so we can have an answer for you. Well, you've got 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
We appreciate that, Frank.
Okay, thanks.
We'll be into correspondence.
Okay.
We already got an email, the same 2 questions.
Yep. The follow-up will be under correspondence from last week, 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
from the public speaker. We did follow up, and we do have the answers. They'll be under correspondence.
Okay.
You can see it on YouTube.
Okay, thanks.
So, all set? Okay.
I wasn't gonna speak, but, the post at the gazebo, I don't know what's out there, how long you're gonna keep it there, or if you're gonna even replace it. But I think it's a very bad eyesore. My thoughts would, if you're gonna keep it any length of time, if you would consider of cutting it down to the railing of the gazebo and then put the sign on it. I just think it's an eyesore sitting there. It's my only opinion. I just wish you would consider, if it's gonna be there any length of time, to cut it down to the size, the railing of the gazebo.
Maybe tilt it back a little bit or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we'll move on to department head committee items. Do we have any? Didn't think so. The Sawyer Road Class 6 discussion will be tabled until after the planning
26th.
board meeting, the 26th, so we'll move on to there. Approval of minutes,
You have 1 set.
we have one set. Get out the way here. Go find them. All right, page 1. Anything on page 1? Page 2? Anything on 2? Page 3? Anything on 3? 4? 5? 6? 7?
That's it.
I'll move to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Manifest.
Do the one from the 24th, yeah, we did that one.
You did the 15th, you did the 29th.
How about the 24th?
Yeah, we did that too.
Yeah,
We did
okay.
that too.
I thought so.
All right.
Switch it over.
Move to order the treasurer to sign payroll and accounts payables checks dated August 15th, 2019 is included in the following manifest. Payroll manifest of $55,114.05 for weekly payroll. And accounts payable manifest of $57,341.15. Fire department accounts payable manifest $4,561.70. John Stark, $250,000, for a total of $367,016.90. Following manifest previously ordered to be signed at the July 29th meeting. I have a payroll manifest of $60,157.48 for a payroll checks dated 8/8. Supplemental payroll manifest, $442, payroll check dated 8/1. Accounts payable manifest, $39,605.12, checks dated 8/8. As there's no selectmen's meeting scheduled for Monday the 19th, further order treasurer is signed payroll checks dated August 22nd, 2019, estimated to be about $65,000. Furthermore, order the treasurer is signed up to the amount of $70,000 for accounts payable that cannot wait until the next scheduled meeting of September 9th, 2019. Reports and actual check amounts to be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion on the manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Wait.
Vote.
I think we're jumped like a month ahead.
Yeah, September 9th
So
sounds a little.
September 9th is distant. That's,
Yeah, that
that's the
seems-
next meeting. So I would say, because your next meeting's August 26th.
Yeah.
Right.
26th or 22nd?
26th. Payroll checks are dated the 22nd, which
Yep.
is a Thursday.
Okay. So it'd be not September 9th, but
Accounts
August
payable
26th.
Can't wait until the
Okay,
next
August.
meeting of, I
August
think it's
26th.
August 26th.
Okay. Still seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I read that and I thought that seemed a little out there, but
Yeah, and that actually is, I thought that when she asked me that today, and I didn't think about, I wasn't quick on my feet, sorry.
We're still having the work session on the 19th, right?
We're still gonna meet, next Monday night as a work session, yes.
okay.
Okay.
Administrator's report?
I gave them to you already.
Yep.
So let's start, doesn't matter. Let's start with the building ones, because I actually picked a couple of them off there. The town hall list of projects, thanks to John Van, he took the time with his drone and took some really great pictures of this building, to kind of look at the, probably the water from the ceiling in my room. And then he took some really good ones of the Gordon Brown Barns, and he also took some really good ones that shows the rot at the town hall. So I think we have some great pictures other than from the floor that I think we talked about maybe for discussion and to develop an RFP.
Yep.
I just want to thank John for doing that. I didn't print them out, which I will. Ricky and I talked about printing a few of them on a page for everybody. I'm not going to do it on big print for everybody like this size, but
Right.
you can probably put 3 or 4 on a page so that you all have them. I'll have to just get some ink for that.
I just want to follow up with that. John reached out to me and he said that he would do that. We met on Saturday afternoon. He put up in the air, he said, "What do you want for pictures?" I said, "I don't know. Let's just start taking some." So, I says there was just, we can't physically get up there to look at the work that was performed
Right.
on the bell tower. I says, so maybe some pictures from directly above it, down, the sides, see if we can see how the roof looks, how the how the railings were tied in, etc. And then we were looking at the returns. There was a little bit of he was a little careful about getting around to the very back corner by the tree, but that was probably one of the worst spots of the rot we have. But then I saw that on top of the returns, we couldn't see on top of them. And I said, well, if the bottom's rotted, the top probably doesn't look that great either. So that's when we got a couple pictures of the top of the returns. So again, can't see from the bottom, so I wanted to see what over the stage looked like. As far as what the roofing material was there, the flashing job, etc. See if there's any rot on there we couldn't see from the ground. So again, you see all the pictures that we took. John was more than happy to take the pictures where I kind of pointed. He took a few more that he thought would be beneficial. We came down here. He said, while we're out, we might as well go hit the other 2 spots too. So he went up, he took pictures of the dormers to see how bad they were. You know, obviously from the pictures we can see there's some rot up there starting. That's probably where the wire's getting in, obviously. And then we went down to the Gordon Brown buildings just to get a picture of the roof and see how bad it really looked. And you know, obviously we received a quote about that, so you know, it didn't hurt to go down there and take a couple of videos of the roof line, the ridge, and stuff like that. And then Naomi mentioned that he had taken a couple of shots straight down the chimneys of here and down the Gordon Brown building, and that was one of the questions that the Irving people asked, if the chimney was lined or not. So it kind of worked out, you know, within a few days. But again, you know, huge thanks to John for doing that. Thanks for putting up with me for half the afternoon, and again, and getting.
He said he had a wicked headache.
I'm sure he did. He went home, took a nap. But no, we had a really good time. We also discussed a couple of other issues within the town that we both felt strongly about. But it was a good, you know, cordial conversation. And like I said, he did a hell of a job. So again, thank you.
Yeah. So, when we get down a little further, so the developing an RFP for quotes, are we looking to do that for something for capital improvements?
I would like
2020?
to. Myself, I would like to. Now that we have a better image on what it is, we can include them in the RFP.
Yep.
And people know, you know, the contractors know exactly what they're getting into.
And we have pictures of it.
Exactly,
So-
yeah.
So let's, I guess, be thinking about what we will do for an RFP.
Yep.
Because CIP is gonna start next month.
See the pictures.
I think there's gonna be several, I'll call it several items. When you get down to 7, I did get the one quote back. There is no conversion kit, so it's a new furnace. So the question there is, and I'm not gonna give out the number because that's not fair to the one person.
Right.
But it's way over the $15,000 cap for CIP.
Right.
So at that point, do you do that? The other thing is, number 11, the air conditioners, since we've cleaned up the grounds and get them to breathe a little better, they've been working better, but we're on borrowed time.
Of course we are.
So what we got for quotes, for the one replacement, for the difference of 300, it can come with a heat pump. So do you think about getting an estimate to redo them all with heat pumps and keep the furnace that we have? Or do we look at putting in propane here and keep our fingers crossed? The air conditioners are gonna go eventually. So do we do both? Do you just take the quote we got times 6 units and call it a day?
Call it an HVAC.
I think we
Yeah.
need to,
Yeah, I think
do you
that's
look at a whole
probably-
project? Do you get a better buy at 5 or 6, or do you just, because you're gonna have to take a number, or whatever you're gonna pick for a number, and you're gonna have to add a percentage to it for next year to think you're gonna get enough money.
How old are these units?
It's my understanding, according to one guy that looked at them, said they probably haven't been made in like 18 or 20 years.
That's the heating and cooling?
No.
No, those.
Those units. It'll be a
Because
combination.
Sanyo's not in business anymore.
Right.
Sanyo was
Sanyo
bought by
got bought out.
Panasonic.
Yeah.
And most of the two of them bid Mitsubishi, one bid Fujitsu. They make them as well.
Yeah, it's probably all, a lot of them are all made by the
You
same
know
company.
what I'm saying? Do you have somebody look at that and give you a quote and say, do we do that and leave? Because it's gonna be, it's cold in here when it's really cold, but a lot of our baseboard is on the outside walls that are covered with cabinets and anything else, because you can't put all the cabinets in the middle of the second floor where the roof will be down. That's just how I feel. Maybe it's not, but it already sags now. I already have to shim up file cabinets to stay shut on the outside. So do we look at maybe putting in new AC versus heat pumps so that it may be a quick heat to the room? Because it takes forever for that baseboard.
Well, I think it's a
Would be-
no-brainer to put the heat units in with them, I think. And
Yeah.
$300 each.
when we do it, I think it's
The
a no-brainer.
$300 addition, yeah, I mean,
They must be able to
I
tell
mean,
you.
personally, the furnace runs. It works.
It does.
That
I
we've
think we
got.
were looking at we're the
I
only
think-
building that doesn't.
Yeah.
You get a
and
better
I-
buy the more.
Personally, I think, the heat pumps are electric, and that's cost the electric bill. But either way, you're gonna add an energy cost. I think it's probably better to look at put the heat pumps in. And
Oh,
get these ready for both.
But I guess I'm asking, do I
And then
get companies to come out?
Forestall the furnace another year and put that on for next year. That's one way. I mean,
Well,
I mean, you could, I mean, really, if you think about it and really looked at a bigger project, I mean, I don't know how many years we're gonna be in this building as,
I think
but
forever.
forever. But, if you put mini splits in and actually put some panels up on the roof, you probably could,
Solar.
some solar, you could eliminate a lot of your electricity use by using the solar. And you might eliminate most of your oil bill.
So I do know that John Stark has a wood.
I saw
Wood
that.
fired. They have wood fired.
They have a wood chip boiler.
Yes.
And I met with people that installed that. They're from Peterborough.
Yes.
I met them at the NHMA and had a long, lengthy discussion with them. And they still have a propane backup. But so far, it seems to be working quite well from what I understand when I checked into it towards the end of the winter. So they seem to be pleased with it, so.
Is that something that you guys might be interested in considering?
Well, I guess my only concern with the whole gamut is the life that we have left of the tank.
Yeah, that's the backside of it.
I mean, obviously we got by putting a whistle in it, but when Benji dug it up to make that accessible for the people, it didn't look too healthy. The tank didn't. It looked pretty crusty. And that would be the last thing that I want to take care of is a fuel spill in the ground. That would be huge to the town.
That's the only other forestalling thing of keeping the oil for the extra year.
Right. I mean, and I just don't know if are we throwing a gamble out there by keeping it another year? I mean, we're rolling the dice with it out there right now.
I'd say you got, the backside of that too, is you got one number, get a couple other bids from different providers and see what they give you for
The propane?
propane for the
Okay.
conversion.
Did we figure out how old the current system is right now downstairs?
I had that information at one point.
Should
I
have a tag
thought it
right
was an 06. I thought we put it in 06.
The furnace.
Should be a tag on it that gives you the date.
Yeah, I think we
that
had
old,
fun.
then.
And do we know how big that tank is? 500? Is that right?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows? Good. Handy.
Somebody said 500, somebody else said it was 1,000,
Yeah.
so.
But without the whistle, they didn't know.
Right.
So now we have the whistle, we
Yeah,
might have a
fill
better
up
chance.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't fill it at wide open throttle, that's all.
So I guess, there's a couple things. I can get a couple more companies to come in and look for propane.
What are we using for oil in a year here to heat this? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well,
1,800
That was-
gallons, maybe?
18,000?
1,800 gallons?
it was tough to estimate because you get a couple hundred gallons here, a couple hundred gallons.
Yeah, they didn't know how to fill it, yeah.
Well, we ran out once, twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything else is now propane, other than, I think,
Eastware Fire.
is
Southware
Southware
is propane.
Is propane.
Is propane currently.
Eastware is oil.
It's oil.
So the only two of us, and we do around 2,500 between the two oil suppliers. So I would guess we're probably closer to 2,000 instead of 18. But the thought was, I think that the difference in prices per gallon for propane right now was a lot cheaper. So I think that was the thought of propane. We did convert from the town hall from oil to propane a few years ago. And that's been really good. You just have to remember
They put
everything
four,
cleaned.
they put 4 tanks out back, right?
4 120s, right along the
Out back,
building,
yeah.
Yep. Do you want to pursue looking at AC units for a complete project, or do you
I
want
think
to just take?
I think it would be a complete project. I mean, they're working now, but they're on borrowed time.
Right, and
I'd hate to split it down the middle and say, let's
I
do
mean, the
half,
main
let's do
control
half.
units are the units on the ground, the condensers and the pumps. on
right,
the
that's why
ground.
we had to clean up and let them breathe.
And these are the secondary, but I think, you're gonna have to look at it, because I don't think they can mate the new ones to these old ones on the wall.
No, they're a full system.
No,
It's
they're
a full
full.
system.
It's a take it out, put it in,
Yeah.
and all new piping, because it doesn't work. I mean, I can get you a price for both, I guess, as we get
Yeah.
close to warrant season, we can talk about what we
Yeah.
wanna do.
Yeah, I mean, I would say with the heat options, just do a blanket RFP.
I'd get it as quick as you can, because winter time's closing in upon us, is something we wanna get done this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, if we want to get, well, no, it'd be for next year's RFP.
Yeah, you can't get it
And
done
next
this year,
year.
you have no more
We're gonna
money.
go another winter
You
without
have no
it.
more money.
Yeah, we have no more money.
You have no
so,
more
okay.
money to spend.
Yeah.
Because we have to talk about, speaking of that, we have to talk about the fix of the well. We'll do that in a minute. So I'll go ahead, I'll also solicit just, and we can talk
Yeah,
about it.
fine.
I took the bell tower, is that complete? I put it on here,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
now it can get on
Yep.
carry off here.
Yep.
Gazebo is complete. There was
Yep.
a discussion this evening about accepting it.
Yep.
The donation was accepted when we did the
Did the
public
thing.
hearing.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
So I don't think we have to physically accept the building.
no, and
And
they
we
came,
did have the
It's
representative
been
back
looked
out.
at,
Yep.
and it's been, the rep gave us that
Yep.
report back.
Yeah, we had Reed's Ferry come out
So I
and take a
think
look
it's
at it.
done as well. The Gordon Brown barns, after looking at the pictures, you still want to pursue trying to find someone to put the stuff on the
yeah.
red barn?
What was the plan? Was the plan to put it on the whole barn?
No, just on the first,
Just
Just
on
on
the
the,
first
just
part.
on the
First part,
first
yeah.
section?
the first
Yeah,
section.
that
Yeah,
painting
and you can
and-
see that from the pictures.
It's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I said, when John and I were over there, we were, at ground level, you can touch the roof, and it looks like the nails are pulling out of some of the rotted material. I would say just take them out and put screws in. If-
Well, I mean, some of it's
if
not,
po- in those spots, but,
and
but
it isn't the
the other
nails,
section, yeah, I don't
and it
see.
isn't the nails pull
Didn't look
out
that
due
bad.
to,
No,
they
no,
don't
the
pull out
the
due
other
to
two are
rot.
fine.
No, what I'm saying is, but those were the sections I was talking about, is
But-
the two that look okay.
But I said if the quote that came in was what, around $6,000 to coat that?
Well, to go
5,600?
over
Well,
and
that was,
fix
yeah,
it.
because he
That's
tossed in
steep.
the rental of the
Or lift.
lift.
Yeah, that's
Right.
steep.
But I think, I was hoping that if you could get it done for maybe 8 or so, that you'd be better off just to redo the roof and,
Yeah, I mean, $6,000, it sounded like we were redoing the entire roof.
Yeah, and I get
Way
a
too
couple,
much
the couple of quotes that came in, we were talking between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
Put a new roof on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and I don't, I'm all about having the buildings there, but $10,000 is a lot to
For cold
put on a
storage.
cold storage building.
I mean, some of the nails pull out of a metal roof like that, the tin roofing, because of the expansion and contraction, and it does it on a regular shingle roof, you'll have
Right.
nails
There's,
pull out,
there's
so.
there's no gaskets or anything on
Yeah,
that.
so
That
there's
was just
no-
oddball nails. I was
Yeah.
up on a ladder, so.
Back in the days, they didn't
Get
have,
one that's a size.
Oh, yeah, no, I know, it's whatever you
6 and
had.
one- Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it's
was
whatever
a
you had, I get it,
mess.
I get it.
But the other issue is that there's dry rot in some of those boards under that roof.
Yeah, I kinda gathered that. Yeah, I kinda gathered that when we were there.
So on that, we are gonna close into fall, so what are we doing to make that a little better?
I mean, again, I am one board member, but I'm not supportive of spending $8,000 to $10,000 to put a
I
roof on
mean,
a
if we
building.
get somebody that can coat it and just pound the nails down and seal them, I mean,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
That's what I'd, or
And,
screw
and,
'em.
and it doesn't need to be a guarantee on it. We know
Well,
what we're
those are
doing.
gonna,
Right. We know this is a patch, we get it, but it's
when
just
you're
not,
out, it could be, you know.
But
What was the
again-
stuff that we have to put on? Can you tell me what that is,
It's,
so I can tell someone what it is to put down?
It's like I can't think of the name of it, but it's a silver-based tar, and you just paint it on. It's like just like paint.
It's a little
You
thicker than regular paint, but it goes on and seals
Yeah.
the roof.
Just brush it on or roll it on. They probably roll it, brush the high spots, the ridges with a brush, and then just roll in between. If it's 6 inches, you get a 6-inch roller.
yeah.
Because
Right.
if I
That's the
try to
fastest
ask
way to
someone to
do it.
come put it down, they're gonna say, what is it? So it's all.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, we're not expecting the world.
Where is
we
it? Is
just
the
want-
material over there in the barn?
No,
it's
it's
at
up.
the
It's in the stone building because I brought it up last.
Okay, we'll
fall
get the
because
name off the
I'll
can,
get it off and give
yeah.
it to you.
All right, just so I can solicit some people
Yeah.
that can do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to tell them that we're putting down.
Right.
It's right in the stone building.
Yeah, she said, Sherry said she get it
Yeah.
for me.
And like I said, at that point, like I
Not too
said,
late
I'm
when we
all
get out, I'll
about,
run over and get it.
I'm all about putting that stuff on there. I mean, we own it, we, might as well put it on there, but I'm not okay with putting a new roof on that building.
But if it's gonna cost us, say, 4,000 to have that coated, say if we come back with 4,000.
It shouldn't.
Still seems steep.
That's
Well, I
a
know,
real
but if they
steep.
got 100, they got 3 days, of probably a labor there, and then they got lift.
Still seems steep. I mean, we
250,
don't,
yeah, so it
we're
is.
gonna have a furnace
The
and
lift
software.
shouldn't, the lift shouldn't be that. They
No,
don't need a
for a
very tall
day.
lift.
For a day or two.
250, about 250 a day.
Yeah, so 500. 500, $700.
Yeah. Well, if once you get that, I'll solicit back to these guys and
See what you can get
say,
for prices,
Yeah.
because
okay,
the other thing maybe, and I have to bring it up to the board, maybe the board of directors would be willing to pay for half the roof.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that way, I mean, it's crazy to put 4,000 or 5,000 into that, coating it up, that may only last a year or two.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I know. That's why I'm saying. I just,
And maybe the historical society would be willing to pay half.
yeah, or maybe even the Mildred Hall Fund would be accessible at that point. I mean, it is a town resource. It is holding town history.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it does have a benefit to everybody. So,
Yeah.
you know, but.
all right, so Clinton Grove, we're still working away at that. The ceiling / walls, I guess, is that gonna be part of the pictures to do the outside before we do the inside?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to do the outside first before we, you know,
Before, we don't wanna
Throw
do
good
the
money away
new
at
and then
bad.
still have a leak.
right, throw good money away bad. So yeah, I'd say it's standby till we do the outside of the building.
Yep.
You know, that roofing job didn't last too long, because that was only put on, what,
It's
2010?
it's the
It's the wooden
it's the
dormers.
wooden
It's the
part that's
part.
all
Yeah,
rotted.
the wood's
The
all right.
eyebrows.
Yeah,
I call them the eyebrows too. They look like a
That's
frog.
what they call them.
yeah,
It's like a frog.
yeah. That's what's rotted. The,
That's
the
what's
actual
rotted.
shingles look fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The doghouse is probably something they could do in the fall. We talked about
Okay.
at the DPW. I can look through and see about home security, but I think you're gonna want something more than a home security camera. Here,
Where?
land for here.
Oh,
I mean,
Ring's good, I think, for 60 days. It goes out on cloud, so if you had multiple cameras,
it's
You can
purchasing the
watch it.
cameras, yeah.
you can watch
And
it.
the other
right
thing
on
is
your
purchasing,
computer.
and purchasing the,
It's not-
what do you call it, the modem or
Server,
the
the
server,
router,
yeah,
yeah.
the modem or whatever that's plugged into for the internet. You gotta get one.
Well,
that's-
the guys
You gotta
coming
get one that's big
tomorrow.
enough that has the, can handle the amount of cameras you gotta put on.
It's not that bad, because
Yeah,
we
okay.
have several at the house.
I'll look at it. It's probably something if we get a price. I don't think it's gonna match the 15 though, obviously.
Oh, no way.
So, town hall sign, Tom did stop in today. He's met with one person, he's gonna meet with a second one, and then he's also meeting with the trustees Wednesday to talk about that. Trustees of the trust fund. The GC for the buildings, I think, we talked about it last time, and it's to use, right now, it's use Kyle.
Yeah.
Because Kyle's been
Yeah, he's
good
doing
with it, so.
Oh, yeah, no, I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, he has. So before we leave the government building section, you all were aware of the no water at the library at the last time we met.
Yeah.
So there is, the two bills totaled $62,7550. So we, $6,275.50. We replaced the pump, 2 horsepower, 3-phase pump that was the biggest cost, $41.29. Then the boom truck to set it and pull up the pump was $950. Then there's piping, and then we also had Granite State's bill to come out to, I guess, troubleshoot. But so the two are $62.25. Did I say 75? $62.25.50, and that is. It'll come out to 75, but I went on their website to find them, and I'm gonna use the coupon. They told me I could, so,
Okay.
I would suggest that we take that out of the government building and maintenance fund, which, is what I said earlier, that you don't have any money, because once we do that, you to take out the other third of the Walker payment and the well for the library, you're down to 57,910. So I think that's where we stay. We talked about 60
yeah.
in case of emergency.
And we still have a furnace coming.
For that building,
For the South Weare Station?
yes.
Mhm.
That's why I said I don't think we can do anything more now, is more
Nope.
get quotes and get ready.
Mhm.
That's all we can do, but you'll need to make a
Hope
motion.
nothing else goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep our fingers crossed. You have to make a motion.
Yeah, I know. I'm just reading this here for a second. Make a motion that we take $6,225.50 out of the Government Building and Maintenance Fund for the water pump, for the well covers the library, the town hall, and stone building. And included in that, that's the Katukook Well Company, and included in that is the fee of $180,250 to Granite State Plumbing and Heating for troubleshooting the problem originally.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Aye.
You're opposed?
Mhm.
Right. So then we'll move on to the next part. Make sure I get things lined up. I do need non-public at the end.
Under.
A C and an A and C. I need two. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
ACO, I think the candidate's done in the background, I just couldn't verify that, and I believe he's coming, Chief Moore's coming on the 26th, so it may or may not be with that candidate. I know they were in the middle of the background, and now he's been gone for a couple weeks, so I'm not sure where we left off
Had a
with
few
that
other
one, and
things.
things got kind of carried away before we left,
I had
so.
a few other things I had to worry about.
Yeah, the Hometown Hero nomination, I hope everybody's been thinking of it. Typically, it is a surprise.
Yep, so that's one of our
So
Cs.
that's one of your Cs. I hope everybody's got some decisions or just.
Oh, yeah.
Because we need to let them know by the 26th so that they can let the person know to get a hold of them, okay?
Yeah.
So we'll do that. The Class 6 road discussion that was going to be on tonight, what we found that the gentleman from Sawyer Road did get to the planning board in July, but the opinion that we got from Attorney Drescher didn't get shared with the planning board at the time.
Okay.
So, and they asked him to come back in 2 weeks, but on the 8th, there wasn't a meeting. So that's kind of why it got shuffled. So the intention, I think he's going to go to the 22nd.
That's the next meeting.
And then he would come to us on the 26th. So just be prepared, that decision will have a reference to that Class 6 road. CIP, we've talked about projects. We can, from here on out, we'll have a look at projects. As projects.
Check.
The tax deeded auction, I believe I told you, was going to be November, so mark your calendar. I have scheduled the 2020 deliberative session for Saturday, February 8th, 2029, so put that in your 2020 calendar. And then that's where I have to be, tomorrow I'm going to leave early, and then Friday the 23rd, before we meet again, I'm going to be gone.
Mhm.
So that's those two. So before we complete, though, I do have a couple other things. These were that. It's officer, there's a letter here. It's public information, obviously, is we're losing Officer Matt Beltate. So there's a letter of resignation from Officer Beltate here. And it just says, this memorandum is meant to serve as formal notice of my resignation from the Weare Police Department. My final day will be August 15th, 2019. It's been a pleasure serving as a member of the Weare Police Department. However, a new opportunity has presented itself, and I've accepted the position. I'll complete my time with the same diligence and dedication as you've come to expect from me. I'd be more than happy to assist with any aspect of this transition process. Thank you for the opportunity and professional experience I've received. I wish the best for the Weare Police Department in the future. Sincerely, Matthew Beltate. I just want to thank Matt for.
Yep.
Me
Yep.
too.
Thank you for your service.
He's going to be
Greatly
Sorely
missed.
Yes,
Yeah.
he will.
Yes, he will be.
He's done a great job.
Yep. Nomination for that. I do have two things other than that. First is, back in, let's see, 2007, the town accepted a warranty deed from NBAC, which is the development up on the hill. At that time, it was recorded, and there's come to be a correction needed for one of the lot numbers that was listed on the easement. So I was reached out to by a lawyer's office for Mr. Tebow, for us to sign a corrective warranty deed. It has been reviewed by Mr. Drescher, and the following lot number, it's only one lot number, is to be fixed. So she sent me a corrective warranty deed with a signature page. At the time, the signature was signed by the chair of the conservation and the chair of the board, because it's owned by us, but there's a conservation area. So, with that being said, I don't know if it takes another motion. It needs the chairman of the, sign the corrective one, and then it would be notarized. And then, I have to get it to conservation for the conservation chair to sign and it to be notarized. So, I don't know if that takes a motion to sign the corrective warranty deed where it's only one person is doing it.
Probably ought to make
I would
one.
think you should.
Yeah, I think we would make one.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I have is a, when the data breach was released, there was brought to our attention that we have to sever the fire department's access to the server. So that being said, the fire department has to take that takes their internet, because it's done by Granite State. So there's a new, I'll call it an upgraded, for them to be on their own. Equipment and fee cost is a 5-year with Granite State Communications for a monthly, let's see, hang on, the proposal. Service. I'm sorry, I didn't do this ahead of time. Router setup. It's my understanding that there's two costs here. You can pay it once upfront of $3,690. That doesn't look right though. Can't be a 5-year. Monthly fee is $284.85.
We want this one attached to the back of it, Naomi.
Oh,
Albert
no.
Reed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sometimes that happens.
That must be for a year, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be. I hate to do this, I'm gonna hang on this one until
Okay.
next Monday.
Yep, so you figure
Just
it
so I
out.
can get clarification.
Mhm.
There's two prices, I don't know if it's both or,
Mhm.
because one is way shorter than the other one. And I apologize, sorry.
Want to make a motion on this now?
I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
Make a motion that we allow the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to sign a revision of a lot number of the property,
There's a whole bunch of lot numbers.
lot numbers. I'm not sure which lot number they're correcting, but it's for the property off of 114 that's owned by the NBAC Corporation of Londonderry, to correct one misfiled lot number from the original filing back in 2006.
7.
I'll second.
It was recorded in 7.
And 7, yeah, okay. Well, I'm looking at one that said 6, but okay. So, second.
Is there a second?
I seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. That's all I have for that part.
Is there only one signature on this?
Only, yeah,
There's about,
so you have to
it's a
do-
half a dozen pages.
Yeah, but
now.
it's because we went back and forth. So it's the Board of Selectmen,
And the Conservation Commission?
And then, so you do the Board of Selectmen signature, and
Yep.
then I have to notarize your signature below. And then I have to wait for Conservation to do the
Okay.
same. Yep, that's how the original was set up.
Yep. So that's a moot point.
Okay, so let's get the Conservation on that one. I think that's all I had till correspondence.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to correspondence then.
I know this is probably a moot point now.
One point, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. What was attached to there, as you all know, Albert Reed had passed away. Albert Reed was our oldest citizen. He passed away July 28th at 99 years old, young, whatever you want to call it. The Boston Post-Cane's been returned to the office. We have located our next oldest citizen. I have communicated with the family. It's Barbara Knox.
Oh.
So I reached out to the Knox family. I'm waiting to hear back. And Maureen's got a list started from there down through.
Okay.
So I'll keep you abreast as soon as I know what goes on there. Last week we were, I'll say, bombarded with a lot that had to do with the public comment regarding agreement versus contract. And then later in the week after that, you all saw an email that came from Mr. Kirk inquiring about, he had two questions, which were the same two questions he inquired about. First was if there was a termination date to the contract. He found none, and that's correct, there is none.
I guess I guess you could look at it as a termination if he doesn't meet his probation, so whatever that is, that's
Well,
one of them.
But there is no date on the form. He's correct, there is no
Yeah.
date. Second was, if terminated for cause, he'd get 3 months' salaries, and that was correct. We talked about that. I think originally there was it was longer than that.
Yeah, it was 6 months.
And then his email said, finally, I pointed out that an agreement is a contract by another name, and as such requires 2 public hearings according to Article 54 adopted 2005 town meeting. While the article was legally only advisory, which means the Article 54 was only advisory because it's a petition article, the selectmen have followed its requirements until now. And the question was, why did the board see fit to ignore its practice? I don't think there was any intention on this part to not follow past practice.
No,
The gentleman that we had selected did not want a contract.
that's correct.
We were advised that we should have something in writing. Because if you all remember years ago, Miles Rigney was our chief. We appointed him with no contract or no anything. And the only way you could get rid of or terminate was to change the position to an elected official.
Right.
So, not wanting to live through that, we were advised to kind of to have something between you. We talked about the agreement because the word contract was used. So we felt, I guess, I shouldn't say we felt, I mean, we didn't have it because we had an agreement between us as to, you know, he could be terminated for this, and he was gonna be able to use the car, he was gonna get uniforms, he was gonna get wages, he was gonna get a benefit.
It's basically a job description more than anything.
It was kind of a job description, we all signed it, so I guess it's an agreement, which, according to town council, agreement, MOU, contract, doesn't really matter what it's called. And it was pointed out tonight that it's a contractual obligation because it defines a period of employment. So, I just don't want it to be out there, because the question was, did town council review the agreement before we signed off? He reviewed the agreement, yes, but we never talked about a public hearing or anything, because he did not do the review last time for the prior chief. Laura did the last review, Mark did this review. So I don't want, there was no intentional of the skirting.
No.
The idea was, he didn't want a contract, we were advised to do something or we'd end up in the same boat we were years ago. So we simply did something. If you want to hold 2 public hearings after, you can, it's after the fact. But I will point
a moot
out,
point.
I do want to point out that Before we even hired anybody, we had an informational night. That informational night was an opportunity for people to tell us what they wanted,
And they
what
did.
they wanted to see. And they got everything they wanted, except for
In-state.
in-state person. Every one of those people, if you look back at the minutes, every one of them stood up and said they wanted X, Y, and Z. We got X, Y, and Z, except for he was not in-state. He's on his way back and he's gonna reside here. He's purchasing a home in Henniker. So he's gonna live within 3 miles of this town. So I think we had an opportunity for public input. And with the idea of no contract, that's where we were. There was absolutely no intention of violating
No.
anything. There was
No,
nothing
that's not
to
what we
ignore
wanna do.
past
No.
practice.
And he fit the position.
And
He-
exactly,
Yeah,
thank
he
you.
specifically said, I don't want a contract,
Yeah.
and that was
verbatim.
That was close for a deal breaker.
So if you
Yeah.
think
He
you want to
forced him
have
into a
another
contract.
public hearing, or 2 more public hearings, or 6 more, however many you think you need, you've already got public input before we even hired him,
Right.
before we made an offer.
Right.
So I guess
And
that's
actually,
where.
yeah, I mean, we were in the process of interviewing everybody, and they were
Right,
putting
when
all
we
that public
asked
input in.
people what we
Right.
wanted to see.
Right.
So Article 54 Shores Advisory, have you done it before, after the fact? Sure. If you want to appease the crowd, you can do it again after the fact, but again, we listened to what they wanted, and I thought we fit what they wanted, other than the one thing.
Right.
So if the board wants to stand in that, that's kind of why, when Frank asked that question again, we asked it of council, but this email, to Frank's defense, came in after Monday night.
That's correct.
This email came. So I did do some research. It's entirely up to the board from there. So that's why I wanted to address that in correspondence, because it was correspondence.
Correct.
That's all I had.
Okay, I got a few things.
Okay.
First and foremost, our officer, Officer Lewis, there was an altercation. We had an officer that was shot. I'm sure everybody knows. Officer Lewis is in great spirits. I just saw on one of the Facebook pages for the town that he was at the department visiting. Again, I never did get up to see him. I wanted to, but he was supposed to be kicked out of the hospital when I was going to go. We ended up staying on the night. You know, I just, you know, and I know that Chief Moore did quite a few thankings, but again, everybody that was involved did a tremendous job, every agency. You know, and it goes to show with the mutual aid, you know, that's out there to help us. I did get a couple complaints about the helicopters flying over at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Jeez.
But, you know, it is what it is.
It was a little earlier than that.
Exactly.
Yes,
you
it
know,
was.
'Cause I was out.
Take it
Right.
from one who knows.
But again, I think all things
Right over
considered,
my house.
you know, we're lucky to still have our officer. Condolences go out to the family that lost a loved one. But like I said, as where we're at now, the officer's recovering and in good spirits. So again, thank you to all agencies involved. That kind of leads into my next piece of correspondence that we had. We had an email regarding radio issues within the town. They're ongoing still. I know that Sergeant Frisbee was out last week. He was doing voter site checks, mobile and portable. And I know that Assistant Chief Richards was out this weekend doing the same for fire. You know, it's sad to think, but the first time I heard the audio on News 9 was, wow, that sounded clear for once. That was my first thought, and that's pretty sad.
Right.
I'm very glad it got out the way it did, but for me to have that reaction of shock that it got out that good is sad. It really is. That's the emergency service, emergency infrastructure, and we can and rely on it. You know, the email reads, and he did ask me to read it into the minutes. He said, "Good evening, board." He said Officer Williams, but I know he meant Officer Lewis. Was lucky in more ways than one last week. He had Sergeant McGuire with him. Officer Lewis was only hit in the arm, and the radios eventually worked. Yes, this is an ongoing radio issue discussion again. This has been going on for ongoing issues for years. For as long as I have been in town, and well before that, it has been widely known and understood the radio communication system is currently in place is a life safety issue and has some serious deficiencies with Band-Aid repairs. He lists multiple meetings where it was discussed, starting December 29th, 2014 at the Board of Selectmen, that there is only portable communication about 60% of the town, and the in-vehicle repairs would raise that to 85%. January 5th, 2015, Board of Selectmen meeting. This is truly a safety issue that needs to be dealt with, and that was a quote from Chief Vizina. 2015 warrant article, Article 14, is anticipated this money will provide in-vehicle repeaters for fire vehicles, a reconfiguration of upgrades of antennas on Mine Hill, and special adapters in police vehicles for better contact with Bow Dispatch. April 15th, 2015, Board of Selectmen meeting. 2 of the 3 invoices have been received from R&R Communications, the 12 repeaters and their installation. Vice Chairman Clow moved, Selectman Bowles seconded, to approve $46,514 to R&R Communications for the upgrades. September 23rd, 2015, CIP meeting. Chief explained that the purpose of this project is, in essence, the emergency replacement of outdated police radio communication system that is reported to be on the threshold of catastrophic failure. December 27th, 2016, Board of Selectmen meeting. The AC repeater article for the radio communications was next. This safety aspect was important of this article was discussed. Jack Meany stated this is a life safety issue. July 31st, 2017, Board of Selectmen meeting. Vice Chairman Hippler stated that he would like to make a comment as a citizen on how terrible the radio coverage is across all town departments. He admitted that he rides the horse often, but this, in some instances, he feels this is creating a real safety concern. I could go on, but it's obvious from about 10 minutes worth of research on the town website using the keywords radio and repeater, this is plenty of chatter on this. You all know that the radio system is junk. The people who rely on this lifeline know it's junk. We have invested thousands upon thousands of dollars in this antiquated system and it still has major holes in its coverage. We have tried in-car repeaters that have failed. We have raised the antenna on Mine Hill that works slightly. We have run AC power to repeater voter sites, but there has been no noticeable difference. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Board, this is your wake-up call. We almost lost an officer, friend, son, and loved one. The men, women, family, and friends of those who serve this town demand better. Fix the radio system. Don't let them down. John Van. I have no argument. None whatsoever.
No, I mean, this has been, and,
I have
you
no
know,
argument, but, we seem to be throwing money out at this system, and we're not getting anything for our money.
Well-
So I don't think we're getting the right people in.
Right.
going
We need to be
back
professional.
to 2016, when it was brought up, and again, I brought up then, is that we should probably start looking for a new vendor that does our radio repair, if that's what it's gonna take. Somebody that's gonna
When
come
is
in
the
and get
contract
quotes
up?
on what it's gonna do.
I think it's an open-ended contract, is that correct?
No.
Or is it 2-year? Open-ended?
There's no.
So I think maybe
I
we
know
ought
that
to
the
put-
Board of Fire Wards, and just in my last couple seeings of the agenda, has it on their discussion almost every week.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've got to start pushing forward. Like I said, we almost lost. And going back, we were talking about Officer Lewis, and yeah, I mean, I've got to say that also, we can't forget Sergeant
McGuire.
McGuire for the fact that, I mean, if it wasn't for his actions and his training, and it goes back to training, that, the outcome of that whole situation could have been a lot worse. And I think we ought to praise Sergeant McGuire for a job well done. He's also one of the walking wounded in this situation. It's traumatic to be involved in any type of situation like that. So, and I'm not sure if he's reported back to work yet or not, but I want to make sure that he gets recognized for a job well done in that situation, and keeping a cool head.
Yep, and we're already shorthanded over there. Now we're losing Officer Beltate, 2 on leave, military with 1, and military coming up with another one. It's already an understaffed department, and now it's a very understaffed department. So everyone that's over there working and putting in the overtime, we appreciate it.
Yeah, and also, I know that the state police is got a
Stepping patrol up.
stepping the patrol up and putting a big focus on helping cover the town because of this situation, so.
Okay.
I think we as a board too should thank all the other towns.
Yep.
Yeah, the other agencies.
State of New Hampshire, other towns, whoever came here to help and assist in that whole
We-
situation.
We had Hillsborough County.
I know how
deputies,
many went by my house.
Henniker,
Hillsborough. I mean, you
Deering.
can't name them all. I mean,
You
we
can't
just-
name them all.
Yeah, I forget
No.
them all. you
They
know.
were,
Yeah,
it
So-
was just a
I mean, I know they
fantastic
all-
response, and,
Right.
you know, we could never thank them enough for it.
I have a couple more things. We had a report from our lawn care vendor that one of the, at the Innocent Field on Quaker Street, one of the telephone poles that are used to keep vehicles off the grounds around the perimeter was moved off the field. They rolled it out of the way. They went out there, did several donuts in the field. They didn't rip up the grass as such, but they made burnt marks in it, so now that Mr. Stockhouse has mowed, you can see all the donut marks. He wanted everybody to be aware. He did share, it was shared with the police department and the Parks and Recs director. They're gonna work on stepping up a little patrol going through there just to make sure, and the other fields, just to make sure that there's no criminal mischief, as Sergeant Frisbee called it, around there, so. Sergeant Frisbee and I did exchange a little bit of correspondence back and forth regarding the radio test that he performed. So I do have a document on his findings from all the voter sites. And I thought there was other ones. That's all I have for in the save box. I don't know about the rest of it. I think that's all I have for correspondence, as of right now, as of the moment. Anybody else?
I have one
The
thing.
one on the bear baiting,
That's still unfolding,
yeah,
so,
I think that one's kind of,
that's still unfolding.
Holding. That's
It's
kinda
still unfolding,
gone
so
away.
we'll let it iron out. We'll speak about it next meeting.
okay.
Just a concern that I've had, and I'm gonna bring it up, because I think we need to do something. The electrical box over by, below the gazebo, between the gazebo and the school over here, the big electrical box,
Behind the shrub?
Good panel, yeah.
that is not locked. So any kid can open that up, and you've got voltage. And if they take that cover
There's a
off,
lock on it.
there's no lock on it.
There was at one time, so I
Well,
don't know.
not, hasn't been for 10 years, because I've been over there every old home day.
Oh, the water, yeah, okay.
Because they left
That's
the
right.
water on it, ran it out.
Yeah, I think we need to put a lock on that,
Okay.
because if some kid goes over there and a couple and they dare each other, they take that cover off on the inside, they'll be on, and right into
Be
live
still there?
wires, hot wires.
It'll be still there?
They'll be still there, yeah. So I think we ought to put a padlock on
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
Then
it's
if,
water, not
then if
that.
there's gonna be an event, somebody comes the Friday before or the Thursday before and picks up the key from you.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in case
Yeah.
something's been tripped, they might need to,
Okay.
okay?
Anything else from the board? All right. We will be adjourning after our 2 non-publics. We'll go on non-public in RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Like I said, we'll be talking about the Hometown Hero Award.
C,
Yep, C.
and then we have to do an A and C after.
That's correct.
May I request something, or is it too late?
If it's speaking, it's too late.
Not speaking, seeing if I can get something on the agenda for next meeting.
Can you call Naomi
Yeah,
tomorrow?
Call Naomi tomorrow.
Yep. 7535?
7535.
7535, there we go. Okay. Okay, all right. I had to think about Mondays, Tuesdays, you know, and everything's rolling together into 2-week
All right,
marks.
so you seconded?
Yep.
Did you?
All in
have to vote?
favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.